Good. Okay, so 2 weeks ago we were talking about the natural skill development theory. I think it was already a bit of practice. Now it's again practice and theory in combination, but let's take it more on the practical side. And okay, so first of all, there's a bit of stuff I will go through, but would be better maybe first asking you, do you have any problems? Any wishes, any critics, any proposals, any questions on this topic? Natural skill development, it's called. Yeah, Alistair, please.
I guess I'll take advantage of it. So I guess the one easy one that comes to mind is going a little bit more into in terms of like the hanging or the climbing. You mentioned, I can't remember if it was module 2. I think it was end of module 2 where you were talking about the positioning of the hands, that holding a bar for the human grip is not natural, and that doing too much of that ends up leading to all sorts of issues in the elbows and so on. And so you had talked about kind of like more thinking about it as a pressing movement. I was wondering if you could just share more on that, because like, as most people have probably noticed, when you go to your regular gripping, you can do a lot more. As soon as you start going to the false grip, suddenly it's like you have to be very humbled, and that I think is a good thing. But yeah, if you could kind of maybe like whatever strikes you on the topic, I think everybody could benefit from that in terms of like what is the difference, what is happening, and pros, cons, recommendations.
Yeah, great, because this is exactly the question that fits into this topic. Because if we just observe this, what you're saying on the ground, then there is nothing. So the logic of that the ground is preparing something that plays a role much later is the one of the most important principles we're working on. But especially in climbing, we don't have anything that resembles the climbing as we know on the ground, except when we are not applying the stuff for grown-ups. But if you look at children, they have this phase where they pull themselves up onto to get into an upright position. So arms are compensating for the stability of the legs. And the same as cruising along, still keeping the hands as support for compensating for the lack of stability on the legs. And so the climbing stuff in itself makes just sense when you look at the big picture, and that's really hanging somewhere and want to climb up. Hello, Sylvia.
Hi
Nice
Bernd.
to meet you. Our first encounter here.
Yes, it's my first time here.
Nice. So just a little sum up for you. We are going into the natural skill development part today. So it's the end of the topics of the old school thing. When we start with a new school thing, that it's not more called module 5, whatever. It's more called really the topic, like MSP, PTP, stability cascade. Because this is much more on-point discussions than this module. You've gone already a bit into the material maybe, and Alistair is from the beginning, and he knows that this is much too much. Yeah, much too much information into deep and deeper and deeper and deeper, and this is not that necessary for the beginning. So this is why we start with topics that already bring some question marks: stability cascade, PSP. Whatever makes it much more easy for you to apply it. And today is the last module 5 part, practice of natural skill development topic. And So natural skill development, Alistair, we go to this, but let's put it in the big picture first. I wanted to share my screen, but I still have the problem with this indefinite mirroring. But maybe it's look, it's still haunting me. I don't know why.
Can't you just share just a tab instead of the screen? Doesn't it help you to choose a tab on your browser?
Do you see my screen now?
I don't.
Is it screen shared now? No. But there is the whole topic. It's whatever. You have 3 options, and whatever option I use, it's okay. Hubert, I need a special help from you somewhere later. Okay, so my intention now was, hi Dani. My intention now was that I'm showing you the HMR ginkgo leaf. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's this 3-part depiction of the whole system. On the ground we have, you know.
You want me to share it if you want? Maybe
Yeah,
you send the link.
Yeah. My assistant.
The link in the chat, and I can try to share it.
Yeah, maybe everybody knows already, but Sylvia maybe not. I would like to have to all on the same page. We're still working. Okay, I just go on. So we have 2 main areas of where we work on. One is the natural ground movement part. It's from lying to standing, overlapping into the higher skills. We have the middle part is the ground, is the get up part, which is about of the closure of the ground part. The ground part gets closed, sealed with the get up part. The get up is something like the skill that is at the end of the school on the ground. Everything comes together in a bringing it into a new dimension. The get up is a perfect picture for it. And after the get up, we are getting into the realm of the skills. Yeah? And as said, I canceled the crawling out of this natural development, of the natural skill development, and keep it in the ground. This was just a remnant of MoveNet, but in our point of view, crawling stays now in the ground movement part and is out of the skill development. Okay, and so that means that the get up is closing something that is super necessary and what we can call the generalist preparation. All what comes above is normally, as much as I know, the evolution of humans, something is a more specialized thing. For every stuff that is in the natural skill development part, in a tribe, you had a specialist or people who are very good in it. The people who are very good in hunting deer, it was necessary to have someone who is a specialist in it to guarantee the survival of the tribe because he was responsible for getting this job done. So in the end, we need specialists in a community of people, but in our body, it making this dimension into our body, it becomes a bit of a problem. So humans itself are not made for becoming specialists if they want to have an overall health. You need to sacrifice yourself for the sake of your community to becoming a specialist, but also becoming useless in any other thing. Yeah, not good in house building, not good in hunting underwater, whatever. So being specialist is always a bit problematic, but the skill development thing is built as the possibility to become a specialist. But we can also put in levels like level 1, covering the general abilities, and you can go into level 2 and level 3. This is what MoveNut did. Yeah. MoveNut tried to make you a generalist already in the skills that are normally made for becoming a specialist. So we can adapt. So do you understand it? Also a bit of a complicated topic, but in the end it makes super sense. Okay, so this is the general structure. And as in the old coaching certification, as I said, when you are through the whole picture, the ground movements, the get-ups, and the skill development, then it's the time to understand everything that comes below. It means if you don't put in the climbing thing, climbing is something that is, grip strength of children. It's that can clinch onto something before they can walk because of a survival reflex. They use pushing themselves up to get the conditioning for the legs a bit stretched. They don't use plastic running devices. They pull themselves up and start cruising by using a shelf for the first journey onto legs. Yeah. Something like climbing is not as people know it. Yeah, as people, you tell them climbing, and everybody got a picture. Yeah, people top rope climbing, Reinhold Messner stuff. Nobody is thinking about baby grip strength, cruising, and so on. Yeah. Even not the pull up or pull down on a machine is for the people climbing. It's a pull up. It's a lat pull. There's no idea about what is the actual reason why we do this. If you do it like that, it may become a problem because what you're doing has nothing to do with a normal evolution. It's a therapeutic, high performance strategy tool, but nothing for your original natural function. Okay, and again, climbing is something that is a very, very good picture. So Alice's question was, what is the difference between a flat grip and a finger grip? Something like this. In my completely confused mind and with all these informations, it's really difficult to break it down again. Very simple, short, and direct. But actually something you can feel when you do it. When you hang yourself on the fingers, you will feel that just the arm and the fingers are engaged in hanging there. If you try to hang on something with a full grip, like a diameter beam of 15 centimeters, you will find out that you cannot hang that long and that everything is starting to engage without any core stabilization or whatever. You would be not possible to hang 1 second. You will feel that the shoulders are fully engaged. You will feel that the whole arm is fully engaged when you hang in a flat grip. That does not mean that it's wrong. That more means that you haven't done it since 30 years. This is the problem. This is why it feels disconnected. This is something I was teaching at the start of my MoveNut career, that people coming in and I said, jump forward, and they jumped. And then I showed them, my arm's going like this. And then they tried to make the correct technique and said, oh, this feels completely weird. This cannot be true. This cannot be the right technique. And I said, yeah, it's not the technique that's the problem. It's you that's the problem. You cannot say the technique is wrong just because of you are not able to do it. Yeah. And this is the big thing, the big problem, that we are somehow that deconditioned, that we are not more able to do something natural, but we are not allowed to condemn it. We are allowed to condemn ourselves. We are the problem, and not the technique is the problem. So whenever you see a child getting on top of something, it's not just putting the front phalanx of your finger here, it's trying to bring the whole hand here, because this is a logical consequence of whatever they were doing with the hand since they started doing something with the hand. And they were supporting on the full hand, and without knowledge, they were they needed to have this hand as a safe point of support, and not as a wishy-washy, I just put it there, and if it slides away, it does not matter. A child does intuitively know, when I put my hand, I need to rely on it, because I want to do a next step, and I cannot risk. They risk a lot, and they learn falling in this risking. And falling is necessary for being able to risk more. Yeah. So children don't know what they do, but they do safety first. Yeah. And okay, so this is why we don't know where it's coming from. But if you see it from a developmental aspect, it becomes very, very clear. The second aspect is that you don't find any climbing possibility or horizontal one in nature that would be strong enough to hang with a hand on it. Yeah, you need a diameter of, let's say, minimum of 3.5 centimeter to have this typical gym bar diameter. This is nowhere in nature except in something you built, like a bucket or something you can carry or not. Nobody would carry a bucket like this. Yeah, if everybody would grab it like this. Why? Because this is a safety grip. This is a grip that is always safer. The thumb is super important to close something in. This is done for, or this is used for pulling on something with a short duration, because the problem in pulling something heavy is not just your hand, it's the whole body, because it's a very intense movement. So that means we have a heritage that built our hands into something to climb onto, nothing for carrying, or not so much. The most important thing was climbing, hanging, traversing, getting up. Yeah. And then slowly through the evolution of humans, we developed or we needed something to carry, and our hand also evolved. Yeah, the ape's hand is that long, or something like this, and just of the usage or for being more fine, and also for carrying different stuff, or for carrying it all, our hand changed its form to something more adaptable. But the original connection of the hand to the shoulder and to the center of gravity is still there. It is also needed if you carry a heavy bucket, that you don't just carry it with the fingers. The body will always try to engage the whole system, to distribute the work, and to be safe in the movement. Yeah, so we can hang on the hands or on the fingers alone, but our, let's say, our evolutionary heritage is still carrying about 60, 70, or whatever, 80% of the original function to connect it to the ground, and to be on something that is thicker than just this is a bucket diameter, right? You can carry a bucket just with gloves of a construction worker. Otherwise, you will not carry it very long. Yeah. So we have a heritage and we have an adaptation. And the adaptation is quite new, and it allows us to do pulling on little diameters, but the original function is still there, and it means it's made for flat grip work. Okay? So I cannot prove it scientifically because there is no scientific proof of it. It's just evolution is the science we can cite. Okay? So, and it's not just that it does not fit in the environment, it does not fit in the evolution, it also fits perfectly to what we are talking about. And this is that a child is developing shoulder stability while using the arm and the hand as support on the ground. And this initial shoulder stability that is built on the ground is then slowly getting into higher elevations to serve a different purpose. It's not carrying your center of gravity over the ground. It's lifting your center of gravity higher. And for this, the child is not just getting on the edge of the shelf like this, because much too unsafe, would never do this. This is weak, and it's less friction, and it makes no sense if you can put the whole hand on it. Sure, it will also take a grip like a climber, 1 millimeter, good enough to camp there, but this is not a safety thinking or survival thinking. This is a sport. Sport is nonsense, actually, but fun, and you can make a lot of money with it. Yeah. Okay, so the consequent thing is using as much of your body to transport your center of gravity through space and time. Yeah, so this is the basic thing. And Alistair, if you are not able to hang on a bar like this, then it doesn't mean that you are wrong, that the bar is wrong or that the grip is wrong, that you are not in the condition to do it. Another example is that this grip is a safety grip is, would you sit on a bicycle and driving faster downhill with your hands like this on the grip? No, you intuitively do something like this, because it is the only way that you're not sliding off. Yeah, but on a branch or something like this, you cannot grip like this. Yeah, you can lift it up and down with two hands, but if you want to hang on it from one side, you need to go like this. Yeah, and if you are starting to train something like a power up on a big diameter, you will also slowly, after half a year of practice, find out that the power up on a flat grip is much more sustainable. You can do more repetitions on it than with a hand grip. So I while working on a flat grip, I completely decreased my power up on a small grip, because my body learned to engage much more stuff in it than it was here. And this is the problem. If you engage just little parts of you, they are getting overdone much easier. If you engage as much as possible of your body, then the work can be distributed, compensated all around, and this is preventing you from overtraining. This is why if you go in a fitness studio and train isolated muscles, you need 3 days of rest. Yeah, if you do natural movement, you need no rest at all. You can do it all day long, or you can do your sessions 5 times, because the action your body has to invest is always nicely distributed into your whole organism, communication, community work, and not just done by specialists that are destroyed as soon as it becomes too much or it becomes a bit different. Okay, so to understand the climbing in the natural skill development area, we need to go down the whole evolution back to where the shoulder stability started to come into being, right? So this is actually now what I said. when you are through the 5 modules of the old coaching certification, then you understand everything that was written before. You have to go for the whole story, otherwise it's just fractious knowledge. This is why I also made a programming part already in module 3 for just the ground. And then came another programming part. How do you program natural movement in module 5? Because now it was complete with the skill development part and not just half of the rent. Good. So that means, again, hopefully Alistair, I've answered your question good that far. I know that there's still a bit of unclarity, but this is also something I'm often emphasize, that we cannot get full clarity. For full clarity, we need science to find out all the little details. And if you put all the little details together, we have a picture of how it works. Yeah, but science has the problem that it always stays in its little details and don't want to talk to the other details. And this becomes an isolated, dangerous treatment of our body. I'm 100% sure that the more isolation you are giving our body, the weaker it becomes. It may look great, it may can do some nice shit, but in the end, it's unfunctional. It's risky. Yeah. If you do nothing, you can do whatever you want and you will improve. Yeah. But if you are already doing something, then you will, that means if someone is starting and he goes into a fitness studio and is doing machine training, it's better than doing nothing. But if he keeps on going with this, he gets stuck and he may get problems because it's not the correct treatment. Every method that is out there in conventional fitness, in movement, whatever, has its plausibility for a very tiny amount of time or a very slow or very little practical application. It's like a little treatment, and then you should stop doing this as soon as possible, because if you do it too long, it will become a problem again, because it's just an isolated part of you. Yeah, so that means if you are a professional lifter, for example, you will definitely get your injuries. Everybody gets injuries. Every high performance athlete. You can ask Gray Cook, you can ask Andrea Spinall, you can ask Kelly Starrett. They all will say every high performance athlete is wrecked after his career. Nobody knows it. What they do is they sell fitness programs because I was a world champion. I know how it works. So do my fitness program and you will be world champion like me. Nonsense. It's a criminal. It's criminal actually. Yeah, because they are all done. Some of them had a good time, and some of them are still, but it's not the general population. Most of them are done because they overdid specialization. Okay. Good. So that's all. Okay, let's go for the breakdown again. So what I wanted to give is just examples to foster your coach's eye. What we need is that you are able to observe a movement and deconstruct it or analyze it, not into detail, just in its general appearance. Yeah. So does anybody have another skill or whatever he's specially interested? So Alistair was this climbing thing. So Alistair, I hope it was clear that everything that is working on shoulder stability from the ground up is feeding into the correct treatment of a climbing skill. I think that's quite easy. I think it's more difficult to say we take a jumping movement and then how do I deconstruct jumping movement? How can I deconstruct it even into the natural ground movement area, and then reconstruct it again as a nice workout that leads into the goal of jumping today, or the possibility of you have a high-performance athlete that is professional in jumping, and you say, I can give you, especially on your specialized movement, something that is putting a fundament on it and reduces your injury risk, in the same way increases your performance, as well as somebody who has a job that is jumping over a gap every day when he went to work, and you say, okay, you get a little problem, and so you are faster in work at your work, or you will not injure yourself, or whatever. So, or like Alistair is proposing something for gardeners. For example, it's just, okay, you are gardening. This has a special this is a special character of movement, or a special type of movement. You do this. This is the most important elements, and for this we train to make you bulletproof in it, that you don't get any problems in the knees or hips or whatever. So a specialized program for a general program for a specialized task. Yeah, that's the strength of the system, and that's completely unique in everything we know. Okay, so I would propose jumping. Any better proposals? No, good. Okay, so generally, you found out that jumping has a starting and a flying and a landing. Everybody who's done a certification with me was to be aware that there are three phases. Okay, the jumping is the same as the landing, just vice versa, right? In jumping, we need to put in energy to transport, or let the center of gravity transport. And when the center of gravity is getting down by gravity, the same movement happens, and the same amount of energy that what was put in needs to get out of this equation. Yeah. And you know that the arm movement is a very decisive factor of jumping. There were also people who said, what is this arm movement? This completely crazy, makes no sense. Every professional jumper is doing this movement, not because the trainer was telling him to do some weird stuff. It's because our dimension, our natural laws, our biomechanics are needing them. Yeah, the same as the climbing thing, Alistair. There's stuff necessary to do the movement properly, without risk, but safe. Okay, so I do a jump, and just as an example, sitting too long on my knees. Keep always this practical little thing. So I do just a little jump. Yeah, so I'm standing upright. My arms are the body weight transfer tool. My legs are the body weight shift tool, and my center of gravity is leaning into the jump. It means the height, the distance of the jump is dependent also on my leaning, on my takeoff angle. My arms are here for forward and upward trajectory. So I need everything in this movement. Okay? So this would be already the movement of a jump without the flight phase. Okay, so I need to go into the preparation phase so I can extend and I can swing forward. Okay, I swing forward, and now I land again. Okay, so the jump without the jump. Taking off, flying, landing. Okay? Good. Now analyze what is going on. My arms are circling overhead like this. Yeah? Circling overhead and landing again. So what elements do you see? There is the whole body is doing a movement. There are body parts that are responsible for the movement, and there are body parts that need to move in a specific way, which is the business of the muscles, and the muscles working on the joint. The joint needs a specific range of motion. For this pattern, the muscles have to do to be able to jump. Okay, so we have the jumping technique itself, can be broken down in elements. We have the movements in the jumping skill itself that needs to be built up somehow. And then we have the joint and the muscle that are involved. Yes, okay, there's more. There's the motor control, there's the nervous system, but some things need to be put into the training, and some things will be trained when you do the training. Yeah, so you don't have to take care on the motor control itself. It will be part of the training anyway it's included in what we already talked about. Okay, so if you want to throw some stuff in, do it. If not, no problem. I can also just explain it how I would do it. Yeah, please, just go on. Ladies first.
Ladies first. Why do you, it's this question is first, why do you do the circling with the arms? We didn't do it in the MoveNet curriculum. Great question. Because this is the more natural, realistic movement. It is more adaptable. With this there's also a principle I liked in the MoveNet thing is that we always train stuff that is, so if you have a natural pattern, and you can train the natural pattern for just this ideal situation. But this movement is more than just this practical application of it. This movement is the base of a lot of different stuff. For example, climbing, crawling. Crawling looks like a parallel transportation of your center of gravity over the ground, but there's already the climbing in it. There's already the walking and running in it. There's already some lifting in it because there's a hip hinge pattern in it. Also, it's asymmetric, but this is a hip hinge pattern. There is the climbing in it. When I extend my leg, so when I crawl like this, it's just a crawl. When I crawl like this, when I extend my leg like this, then it's also a crawl, but it's a crawl that is already feeding into jumping, into landing, into climbing. That means if I train an isolated skill, not for its practical purpose to be a specialist there, but just as a fitness exercise, it makes much more sense to do it in a way where it is already covering a lot of different stuff in just the same movement. Why should I make the crawling just that little to be better in crawling or whatever if I do a bit of different things and I have much more included? Yeah, in a specific fitness exercise makes more sense to include as much as possible. If you want to be specializing in something specialized, you change it to something more simple. Okay, so now was the question of Anke, why do you do this arm movement upwards? Because it is much more adaptable. With the arm movement forward, you jump from point A to point B forward. When you want to jump on top of something, you need an upward trajectory. You would do this intuitively. If I would put you there and tell you jump this distance, you would use your arms just jumping forward. As soon as I would tell you jump on top of this, you would definitely pull your arms upwards. So the one is simpler because the range of motion is less. The one is more difficult because the range of motion is becoming 50% more. Okay, so you have to differentiate between I want to do a training and want to include as much of putting as much as possible into the time, or I want to train for a special skill, and then you have to reduce it to the specialization of this skill. Good. So is this answered, Anke? Thank you. Great question. Alistair, you had a hand up, right? Still valid?
Yes. Coming back to the analyzing for the jumping phase. So would that be that there is a knee hinge and a hip hinge that is allowing a body weight lowering?
Exactly.
For at least that phase.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So there's a knee hinge and a hip. I just call it a hip knee hinge. There's not a lower. Alone, it would be a flexion of the knee, and it would be a flexion of the hip. But if you put it together, it becomes the hinge. Okay, so there's a hip hinge in it, and if you now design a training for somebody, in our perspective of training, we're just not doing hip hinges until you cannot hear this word. We make variations out of it. We want variability, because not just because it is making you more adaptive, but it also it feeds a lot of different stuff. It feels your neuroplasticity. It makes you much more less injury prone, because different impressions prepare for different applications. That means if you prepare the jumping with a deadlift, with a get up, different get ups, symmetric ones, asymmetric ones, with a crawl, shoulder crawl. There's just little aspects of the bigger picture, but the little aspects, if you explain it to somebody, this movement is part of your crawling, and you are focusing mentally on, I do this because of, this is a little part of the crawling. The crawling, this is part of the jumping. We have been jumping. This will enhance your jumping skill because you add one more aspect of it. If it's load, when you add the lifting, for example, then you add load as a conditional factor, and the load prepares you for the gravity you have to deal in landing. When you land, you need about double or 3 times of your weight needs to be absorbed in your legs. That means the best preparation for a jump without jumping is a deadlift. So if somebody has fear about jumping, so you don't need to jump, you just lift something, and then you already train 50% of the jumping movement without jumping at all. Okay, if you want to, for example, what's in the crawling thing is, we have very rough stuff. That means a very rough preparation of jumping would be a deadlift, and there's very fine stuff. If you are working with heavy loads, your body is engaging everything that is necessary for protecting itself in this moment. If you are work with less load, that means, for example, just doing a get up and down, he has the possibility to engage a lot of stuff that is regulating the whole picture. The neurological, the motor control to activate the right things in the right moment. It cannot be done in a high intensity movement. It needs to be done in a low intensity movement where the body is able to learn. The body is always able to learn in a relaxed state. And this can be measured with nose breathing, soft, silent. Then you know I'm in an intensity where everything is open and is able to take something in. If you take an intensity like a deadlift, then nothing is open. It's just fuck, heavy weight. I have to lift it up. I'm prepared or I'm not prepared. Nobody knows. We as a ground movement community, we are prepared. Somebody who is getting into his CrossFit, that does a bit of whatever warm-ups they do, and then go for 100 repetitions of whatever, cleans and jerks. Then it was from 0 to 100, full engagement. Let's see how much you can bear. Hopefully nothing is happening. No. You go in and say, I don't need a warm-up because I'm always warmed up. my system is always ready. And I don't do 100 repetitions in the shitty technique. I do 10 repetitions in a perfect technique. So I don't get any problem. So, and you can mix this all together. You can say, take a little bit of a warm-up. So your injury is a bit, and if you do a correct technique, you don't have to do 100 repetitions to bring your heart rate up to 160. You just do 10 repetitions and your heart rate will be up at 160, because the correct technique is engaging more parts of your body, is bringing your heart rate up more easily. Yeah. With a shitty technique, your body is just using the strong stuff, and this is less material that is moved, and this brings your heart rate not that easily up. You have to bring the heart rate up by brutal force and not by a mindful practice. Both are possible to have the same effect. Okay, so we have the hip knee hinge in it. Hip knee hinge needs ankle mobility because the ankle is also in a hinging movement. Yeah, so it's the whole chain here is flexing. So I can isolate this joint into flexion mobility. I can isolate the knee. I can isolate the hip. Okay, so three body parts get their own treatment in the warm-up. You just increase the range of motion. Yeah. Then we have the spine needs to be stable. Right, the spine should not move. It should all be absorbed under the spine, and that's the hip, the knee, and the ankles. So your spine needs to be aligned. So where do you work on spine alignment? Where can you work consciously on spine alignment? In a wall stand. Then you learn how to feel when your spine is aligned. With a stick, with a 3P stick movement, the hip hinge with a stick in the back. You learn your nervous system when your spine is aligned. Okay, so crawling, getting something in your back. I think everybody knows this. It's too stable. Something that is a bit of around like this. If you can crawl like this without this is moving, your spine keeps alive. If you crawl like this, and this, and this, it's out of alignment, you feel it immediately. That's one of the best exercises because you have a direct feedback if something is good or bad. Self-limiting exercises, it's called. You don't need a teacher for it. Yeah, okay. And then we have the arm movement. So as you have seen, you need a full 360 arm rotation possibility. It would be an extra isolated movement. You can isolate it as much as you want. You can also ask a physiotherapist before you start your training to make everything soft. And then you say, okay, done. Now I take the foam roll. Now I do some stretching. So whatever you need to improve your shoulder mobility, do it. As long as you are putting the whole information your shoulder needs into one training session. That means we're not just working on the mobility of the shoulder, but after improving the mobility, we give it stability. So your nervous system not disliking it as something which makes you more fragile, but it's again harnessed with stability, brings you back safety. And then you give it a pattern, because the stability is actually normally a static thing, or it is a dynamic thing. And if it needs to be dynamic, it needs a pattern. It needs a clear road where to steer the endless mobility. Yeah. Mobility is there from a child's perspective. Stability comes here to control the mobility into a specific direction, which becomes a pattern then. Pattern is stability plus mobility with a purpose. Yeah. And in our, that's a principle taken from the children. They don't isolate stuff. They from their constitution start with mobility, then add stability, and then add pattern. This is their all-day life movement school. They don't do just stretching. They don't do just push-ups. It's always a complete picture. And this is also very important to understand the system, that we are grown-ups. We are not children. That means we have different preconditions. This brings us back to the flat grip cannot be said it's wrong just because you cannot do it. Yeah. So we are out of a specific conditioning. We need to get in to be able to build up originally like children are doing. And our first job is, because this is what we lose the most and first, that's mobility. So what children have is ground situation, grown-ups are on the complete other side. Children own lots of mobility. Stability is also something very important. There is no stability. Stability is immediately here. There's always stability right at the same moment when mobility is happening, because our nervous system needs safety, and without stability there is no safety. Without safety there is no movement. It will be just, oh shit, I don't dare to move. As soon as mobility is used, stability needs to bring it into a safe environment. And so that means we are always combining the stuff and start with mobility, because this is what we have lost the most, and we need this for the range of motion and the proprioceptive feedback. Mobility is here to give your nervous system the information where your joint is. The more mobility you have, the more receptors in your muscles, cartilage, fascia are here for giving signals of good, bad, great, not great, tense, relaxed, more room to move, less room to move. This is the precondition of movement, and this is the decisive factor of mobility. We don't work on mobility because we want to look like a prima ballerina. We work on mobility to get the sensory feedback back that is necessary for the movement, the stability, and the patterns later. Okay, so again, this jumping movement, a warm-up starts with the mobility. You can isolate it down to ankle mobility, knee mobility, hip mobility, and shoulder mobility. Okay, that's a little package block of warm-up, mobility warm-up. Then you can add a stability warm-up. That means you're doing the same movements as you did before with the mobility, for example. But what you add now is you treat that joint as a point of support. That means it needs to be activated by usage. That means the mobility you were building up in the ankle for the jump now needs to be protected by stability again. And the possibility would be just getting in any positions you want, like this, and start with pressing into the ground, pressing down. Nothing is happening except a bit of muscles are communicating. When I press down, contraction happens, movement happens. Yeah, but the full mobility I was doing, whatever I wanted, is now put into a stability case by just pushing down. I can do this in the crawling position. There's a lot of instability, so the pressing down is working much more complicated. This is much easier here. Yeah, in standing, it's also not just standing; it's pressing into the ground, bringing load onto it. So this factor of stability is exaggerated, because this also needs to be trained. What also needs to be trained is the differentiation between tension and relaxation. It means you don't press down and press down for half an hour. This makes no sense, burns a lot of energy, has no practical application. You're just doing something like pressing down, relaxing, pressing down, relaxing, that the fine motor control, not these big muscles that are do the lift or the jump, but this fine motor control is restarting again, because this is the protection thing. This is the safety thing, that whenever there is a little of a deviation, the floor is a bit of inclined, and you do a deadlift. Everybody who is doing a deadlift on a flat floor, and you would put him on an inclination like this, would immediately topple over. Yeah. Except you're telling him at the beginning, be very, very careful. The floor is inclined. If you do the same lift as ever, it will not feel like this. That means when you then start to in a warm up, you also give it different angles or whatever. So if there's some problem, your body is prepared. This is why stability is not just as I said, not just in this position where the actual jump is happening. You need also to bring it in an even more difficult position to work on the fine regulation stuff that is here for helping you if you need to adapt consciously or unconsciously. Okay? Then we have the hip. There's the hip hinge and the knee hinge. Crawling, kneeling get-ups from sitting. Here, this movement is a hip hinge. There's also something that the jump itself would just go into a symmetric pattern like this. But for the sake of safety, and also for that the whole joint has something out of this training, you go for asymmetric hip hinges. Possibility. This brings in the variety part again. And variety is very important for adaptability and for neuroplasticity. And at the end, we have the shoulder. So you can again break it down to the most simple, just isolated rotation, or you bring it down into all the different possibilities. It also has to stabilize. So you have, for example, the downward stabilization is just by doing this movement, or just by pushing yourself up and down like this. So one angle, one second angle, third angle. And then you have the mobility stabilized again, through the pressure in it. If you add pressing into the ground, it's even more effective. And this stabilization is predecessed if you are adding on to stability, it becomes strength. From stability comes strength. And from strength comes explosivity. So explosivity without strength does not work, and strength without stability does not work. So when you have a movement like the jump, which is a very explosive movement, you prepare it with stability work in all of the ankles, or as much as possible, as much as realistic, for different areas with a bit of movement in between, is covering more than most others are doing, and then you start really to throw the arm without the movement. You can also have a warm up like a little boxing unit. 1 minute to the boxing bag, and punching into it. This will prepare your shoulder for high intensity explosive movement. Yeah, there's not a 100 relation, but we don't want 100% relations, because this is getting isolated, specialistic, injury prone, performance decreasing. What we want is a big array of different impressions on one joint, that is not just an advantage in the target movement, but it's taking into respect the holistic function of the shoulder itself, as well as the adaptability again, the neuroplasticity, your relation to your shoulder, that you know, if I'm here, there's a bit of pain. I'm here, I'm very strong. This is my weakness, this is my strength. So you build up a relation to every joint in conscious and unconscious environments. And this is what the system actually is made of. It is that you are training everything like it is actually evolved in the form that is like a plasticity that you can then use for everything you want. Yeah. And all the other systems mainly just take this specialized movement and try to get as much out of it as possible for whatever purpose, muscle growth, mobility, or VO2 max. That's all the classics, the classic of longevity and training. But it's just 99% of the possibilities. So, Anke, sorry.
Yeah, what is about hanging in this for preparing? Is this too far if you hang and you're swinging for shoulder movement? Is it too far away?
Great. That's great.
Okay.
Actually,
I just want to know if I'm thinking right.
Yeah, really. Everything you can do for your shoulder will prepare the shoulder for everything the shoulder does. That's the great thing. But what we can do, or what will I do if I have time enough? I will. You can screen the. We have already 2,500 videos. Now you can screen them for jumping. These techniques out of the repertoire are covering about 80% what you need for jumping. That means that are the first go-to techniques for the jumping preparation movement. And then there are another layer of movements that are just covering 50% of the jumping movement. And so you maybe have an exercise for the shoulder movement in the jumping first grade. That means it's directly related. You have a second grade, you have a third grade relationship. And then you can say, if I have to build a program that lasts for half a year, yeah, I need grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. Otherwise, I don't get the sessions full. I need to keep this guy busy. So you can take a lot of different, and can always say, this is good for the shoulder because of this and that. Yeah. But if you have just somebody who has a quick fix of 1 hour to show this guy how to fix his shoulder, you will just show him the grade 1 exercises where you don't have to explain. It's obvious that this is good for your shoulder in this movement. Okay, and to the skill development part we have above, we have much more repertoire on working on specific parts of the bodies, on specific skills, is just in the ground movements. We bring the stuff that is possible, like high-end movements, downward to the ground movements, by also using all the other skills that we experience as children, for example. And there's also not just a vertical hierarchy in it. In movement, we had a vertical hierarchy, but in the HMR, we have also a horizontal relationship. So if you want to be specialized in jumping, you go from walking, stepping, hopping, leg swing jump, 2 legs to a forward jump, precision jumps, upward jumps. It's all just the big stuff. But that is the specialized route. But if you want to keep the generalistic view into it, then you add in the crawling, you add in the lifting, you add in the get up. Yeah, and this is then brings in the variability. From the ground up, it brings somehow the condition. You can build up the condition for the specific skill. And in the skill development thing, you can bring in the variability of the movement. So you have 2 dimensions where you can access or treat this movement. Yeah. This all sounds always complicated, I know, but it's I said in the trainer certification now, I try to build this up very, very simple from the ground, and also with immediately, if I talk about the topic, a little GIF of the movement, then you can see different. This was the problem. Sylvia is the new one. You may are not that deep into the old material than the other ones, but you will also see that there is the theory is there, and the practice is somewhere else, and it's really hard to bring them together. You have where is this and where is that, and in the new system, it's right there where you need to understand it. Good. Okay. Wow, there was no excursions to somewhere else. It was all natural skill development. Great. Okay. Any questions? Any whatever? Otherwise, I don't keep you longer in this and let you go. So good. From next Tuesday on, you can choose topic. Yeah, we have the community where we have the trainer discussion where you say, Bernd, I have no idea about what MSP means. Write it into the topic, hashtag me, and then this topic will be part of the next Tuesday session. If I don't get anything from you, I will choose the topic. Good. Have a great evening. Move well before you move often, and all the best.